this is episode 4 now. The last one I just did was episode, I believe, 3. Yeah, episode 3. So, this story is about the time a giant food fight was started in the cafeteria at one of my old schools, and I almost got blamed for it. So this story goes back to when I was in, what was it, 2nd grade. Now at this time I was still one of the worst children to ever walk through that part. And then we were going to lunch. We were already having a bad day. I forgot exactly what we were having. I accidentally say happening. I forgot exactly what we were having, but I know that it came with peaches, like those peaches that be cut up and they like put it inside the little bowl. That's what it came with. So we were using it, and I accidentally dropped mine. It's just gonna come in, which is what is going to happen later on in the story. So keep that in mind. So I accidentally dropped mine, and then I don't know what happens, but at the table that I was sitting at, somebody just throws. I remember what we were having. Now we were having pizza. They throw the pizza, and it hits someone. And so the guy's like, "Who did it? Who did it?" And they see the guy who he sees the guy who threw it. And he's just like, "Yo," and he throws his milk at the guy. And so then they throw something else, but it hits a different person. And then somebody else throws something and it hits a different person. And then a big food fight started. So I'm like horrified at what was going on, because you don't expect for that something like that to happen. Like, you don't. And so there's teachers in there trying to stop us, but there's about like, it was the whole 2nd grade, so that's about, and it had to be like 100. I want to say 100 kids though. It's probably more or less than that. I don't know, but let's just say it was about estimated about 100 kids over here in the cafeteria having a big food fight. So I'm not throwing anything, actually. I'm not. But then it finally calms down after they bring the chief police. Well, not the chief policeman. It's the one that watches the school, but is a police officer, but doesn't be dressed up as a police officer. Basically like a security guard. And he comes in and he stops everybody. He helps the teachers stop everybody. And then I get called down into the principal's office. And they're like, "So you're the one that started the food fight?" I'm like, "No." And I was already in trouble one time that day for something else. But this time I didn't do anything wrong. And they're like, "Yeah, you're the one." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm literally not doing nothing right now." And they're like, "Yeah, you said that earlier and you did something." And I'm like, "This time I'm not doing anything." And they're like, "We're going to send you home." I'm like, "Can you at least check the cameras?" And you're like, "Alright, first, before we check the cameras, what happened?" So I'm saying, we are all at lunch, we're eating our pizza. I accidentally dropped my peaches. And then when the peaches dropped, somebody threw a pizza at another guy, and he threw his milk at him. And then a lot had went on, and it had hit some other kids. So then they're like, "Okay, then what happened?" So I'm like, "I'm not doing nothing. I'm trying to stop everybody with the teachers." And some of the teachers that were cool with me were like, "Yeah, he did." And then we're over here sitting. We're just waiting for what's gonna happen next. I'm waiting for what was gonna happen next. And then next thing you know, they say, okay, we're gonna check the cameras and see if you're telling the truth about your peaches falling on the ground. And he said it when, like, you know how when somebody says something and they're like being sarcastic kind of with it, like they put their two fingers up like in each hand, and then they kind of like rink them a little bit. They're like, "Who's doing to me?" I'm like, "Okay, but you're not gonna find anything from me." And he's like, "Uh huh, we'll see." And so he checks the cameras and finds out that I actually was telling the truth about my peaches falling. And he's like, "Okay, so if you didn't start the fight, who did?" I'm like, "Check the cameras." And so he finds out who actually started the fight. And they get suspended. I'm surprised they didn't get expelled because the whole school was basically having a food fight. But then he made some of the teachers that blamed me and some of the students that blamed me give me an apology. And that was the first time that a teacher actually ever apologized to me about something. The second time that I was ever apologized to by a teacher was when the teacher that I had in fourth grade, I was doing a science thingy. It was a science test, and he ended up losing the first one. Then, I come back. I'm like, okay, I done this one, and then I was reading the AR book. I had just met my goal. I had put my book away. He was like, "Joshua, can you come here again? Come here for a sec." And this is about a couple weeks later. He lost the first. He lost the second one that I took, and then about a couple another weeks later, he loses the third one. And then at the time I came back inside the classroom, because we had just got to switching from our last class, we're going to our home room. We switched back to our home room. He calls me over to his desk to tell me that I got bonus points added to my average grade because I had did all three of them and he found all three of them. And I'm like, what? So that was basically how a big food fight started, slash how I got bonus points kind of one time. So if you like that video, drop it, share it, like it, subscribe, and I'll tell you.